So I've been doing ASTAT advice for like 3 years now, and I sometimes still can't even believe that this is what I'm doing. I'm being a professional asexual on the internet. ASTAT advice as a project started because I downloaded TikTok and I was goofing around, and I made this video where I identified myself as an asexual person, and I got tons and tons of new followers and comments from people saying, wow, I never knew ace people were older. I've never seen an ace person that looks like you. I didn't know that as aces we could grow up and get older. And it became a place where people started asking me questions and asking for advice. And my dad vibes kicked in, and here we are. So since we are 3 years in, I thought it might be fun to go back to the very beginning and take a look at some of the earliest AceDad TikTok videos and see what we think of them. So yeah, like it's like reacting to your older self, which is probably pretty cringe. And I can guarantee you that we're gonna have a lot of interesting hair and beard choices in this time frame. Mostly, I wanted to make this video just like a way to mark a project that has been incredibly important to me and my life, and it has allowed me to connect to all of you wonderful people out there on the other side of the internet screen. But also a way to kind of look back and see, like, was Ace Dad giving some good advice back in the early days? So yeah, let's take a look.
What's something that feels both gay and homophobic?
The reaction I get from guys when I tell them I'm ace.
So that is the very first Ace Dad advice video. It's the first time I ever publicly identified myself as an asexual person on any of my social media platforms. And that was the video that launched 1,000 asexual questions. Like, when I look back on that, it makes me laugh so much that video is the thing that started everything, because I just didn't know what stitching was. And I was just trying out a stitch. I yeah, like I was like, I'm 1,000 years old, and I was just trying to understand how TikTok worked, and I posted that and went away and returned to like all the incredible people and questions and community, which I was very unprepared for. There's no advice in that video. I just wanted to include it because I think it's fun. Like, that was it. That was 3 years ago, and I really should have trimmed my beard.
Ace Dad advice.
So there are a lot of different ways to be ace, and you really shouldn't put any pressure on yourself right now to determine exactly how your asexuality works. So you can pick whatever language of asexuality works for you right now, because it describes who you are and how you feel right now. And it's okay if that changes at some point. If your relationship to your asexuality changes in a year, 2 years, 10 years, whatever it is, then you can change the language. You're not stuck identifying the way you identified right now, because you wouldn't be the same person that you are right now. Your identity can change as you change. It can grow as you grow. So be confident in however you identify as ace right now, because it's right, it's valid, and it's you.
Okay, y'all, can we talk about how she was trying all the fun features of the TikTok? Oh, the computer voice. Oh, bless. And the terrible editing. Oh, girl, you didn't learn how to edit yet. But as far as the advice goes, hey, yo, old Ace Dad. Yeah, I agree 100%. We can grow and evolve and change over time, and I 100% agree that how you identify today does not necessarily have to be how you identify tomorrow. You can learn new things or rethink things, and but that doesn't change the fact that what's true today is true today, and we should always feel confident to call ourselves what we know ourselves to be in the moment, and continue to be open to the process of change. And like, do you think I was doing that post so I could just show off my tattoos? I think so.
Yeah, sure. Your romantic alignment and your sexual alignment don't necessarily have to be connected to each other. They can be, but they don't have to be. Now, there are folks who don't experience romantic attraction, and those folks are called aromantic. So, like, just for the record, I am asexual, but I am married. I've been married to my husband for 6 years now, almost 7. And we are also polyamorous, so I also romantically connect with other people as well. That's like a whole TikTok for another time. There's a very pervasive misunderstanding about asexual people that being asexual just means that, like, you have no connections of any kind with other people in any kind of way, that you're just this, like, sexless, romanticless nothingness of a person. It's just not true. There's a wide spectrum of experience that goes along with asexuality, and it's not connected to romantic relationships.
So I think in this video she was serving some wild hair. I love the kind of like, I woke up like this, but in reality, I actually spent like 20 minutes in the mirror trying to get my hair to look this undone. Bless. I also look back on that and I really miss that room. That was my office in our house in Connecticut when we lived there. We now live in Ohio. But yeah, that was my old office. I loved that room. I was surrounded by all my books, and that's where I did my writing. That is where I wrote most of I Am Ace. Yeah, I miss that little room. What I think is kind of interesting about these early videos is, like, clearly Ace Dad hadn't found himself. I see there is Cody. I see Cody talking about things in a very kind of quiet, demure, soft-spoken kind of way. And I had not yet found the Ace Dad energy vibe thing. It's kind of interesting looking back on them for that reason. And if you ever want to know what it's like to sort of hang out with me as a person, that's kind of more me than the Ace Dad version that you see in videos that I make for the project. The advice in the video, that remains 100% true. There is this assumption that asexual people won't want to have any kind of relationships, that if you take sexual attraction out of the equation, then you're taking everything else out of the equation. And it's a really pervasive stereotype. It's a damaging stereotype because asexual people can go into the world and go into their relationships wanting all different kinds of relationships. And all of those options and possibilities should be open to us, and they shouldn't be assumed to be cut off for us just because we're asexual.
First of all, you're very welcome. It is my pleasure, and I am happy that you are here. So, as you know, I'm an old. And one of the really important jobs for mentors and elders in any community is to demonstrate and remind young people that a future is possible. One of the hardest things for young queer people is to see in the world evidence that a future is possible. And I think that's really true for ace people, because we don't exist anywhere visibly in the mainstream culture, ever. It's sometimes hard to believe that a future can exist. So that's why it's so important for me to show up here every day and talk to you. Because I am an old. I am proof that there is a future for you. I mean, maybe you want a better one or something? A cuter one? I don't know. But a future is possible. It's possible for you. I believe that wholeheartedly and have no doubt about it.
That hair is a jump scare, boo. I mean, nothing says 2020 more than that pink hair. Also, I really miss those glasses. I miss those glasses so much. That was my absolute favorite pair of glasses, that like Tiffany blue. Oh, I miss them. I lost them. I have no idea where they are. They're lost to space and time. In terms of what I'm talking about in that video, like, I still believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that one of the most important things that we can do if we are an older queer person is just to sort of show up in the world. Like, we don't have to necessarily go to protest, or we don't have to work really hard to insert ourselves into sometimes the complicated discourse or complicated conversations that are happening around our queer identity, but just showing up and being in the world, being visible in a way, is really crucial and important, because we are a demonstration that you can be whatever queer identity you are and older. Like, there is a future exists. That is like such a powerful advocacy. These days, I would probably also talk a bit about how interesting the notion of generationality is in the ace and arrow communities, because it certainly doesn't work in the same way as like gay and lesbian generationality. We are not necessarily often learning our ace and arrow histories or learning our ace and arrow culture from real people in the real world. We are more often learning them online. And also, there is the reality that younger people have been ace and arrow for longer and hold more community and identity history and knowledge than a lot of older folks who are a little bit later to the party and are just now realizing. But it puts us in these like interesting superpositions of being both elder and newbie, being both younger but holder of more generational knowledge. And there's a lot of interesting kind of generational things happening in ace and arrow communities. But that initial idea still is very, very crucial to me. It is important that all of us who are older show up where we can, because we are proving that a future is possible. We are proving that a future exists.
Woo! That one's a tough one. So I've experienced romantic attraction as like a deep emotional connection with someone, and the desire to take that emotional deep connection with someone and build it into something long lasting, like a life partner, that sort of thing. But I recognize that that could also be true for a queer platonic partnership. So, I don't know. I know for myself that my romantic connections always feel like those connections that I'm going to build something with. Like build a partnership, we're going to build a marriage, we're going to build a life, like that kind of thing. It's buildy, if that makes sense. But that's just me. I wonder if any of the aromantic followers that I have could maybe chime in and help answer this question as well. That would be great.
Yeah, so this is one that I would have a totally different answer to. Talking about what romantic attraction is fundamentally, I don't have the same kind of confusion that I did back then. I would not these days root romantic attraction in talking about feelings, other than sort of saying that romantic attraction often carries with it some of those, what we like maybe like sparkly, fuzzy, warm, tingly feelings that people like talk about in books and people talk about in media, and that would be part of romantic attraction. But the way I would talk about romantic attraction now is more socially constructed. Romance, when we're thinking about like what is romance, it's a series of gestures and behaviors that we culturally have decided are elevated above things like friendship and other kinds of connections. We've grouped a bunch of things in our culture that we say this means we are romantically into somebody. This means romance. So buying flowers, going on dates, moving up the relationship escalator, heading toward marriage, wanting to marry somebody. We've kind of lumped all those things into this package called romance. And so romantic attraction would then be the feeling that you want to do those things with that person. Those social constructs change from culture to culture. So what is romance in our culture is not going to necessarily be romance in another culture, but it's all still like looping toward the same goal. It's to move you toward that exclusive paired relationship that will ideally create a family. But I do appreciate where Ace Dad of the past was heading with that answer. Locating things in practicalities, those are the setups that we are supposed to head toward. Buying a home, creating a family, living with a person that you are in love with, who is the one establishing your life with them. Yeah, that is part of romance. But back then, I would not have talked about the social construction of it, and that is how I would talk about it now.
So if you're an ace who has sex, what difference does being ace make? Everything. Sexual orientation for anyone isn't defined exclusively by your sexual behavior. It's about your long-standing patterns of attraction, who you're attracted to, how you experience that attraction, and how that attraction helps to build your identity. So it's really freaking important.
For asexual people, asexuality describes a very specific way that we inhabit our bodies, the way we inhabit our minds, and the way that we inhabit our relationship to other people, intimate relationships, social relationships, and our relationships to the larger world. It's not just what we do with our genitals. It describes our fundamental experience as a person in this world. And the same thing applies for allosexual identities too. You just inhabit a world that's built to support them.
Go off, Ace Dad. Ugh, go off, sis. Look, we're gonna get to what I talked about, but like, go off, Ace Dad of the past. First, though, I want to talk about the hair. That's the hair journey that I was on over the pandemic. So that color, if we are dare to call it a color, is the result of my pink hair, recognizing that my pink hair was crazy, and then I dyed my hair black to try to like balance that out, and then the black over time faded into that very unappealing tan that lasted forever. Drop in the comments if you have also had a challenging pandemic hair color journey. Solidarity, friends. But back to the ideas of the video. I mean, yes, 100%. I still agree with this, and I snaps to you and your sass there, old Ace Dad. I think so often people get caught up when we're talking about sexual orientation labels into what people are doing with their bodies, that it's so rooted. We just think that being gay or being bi or being ace or being pan or being a lesbian has everything to do with just what we are doing with our bodies, and the experience of that label and the experience of that identity stops when we put our pants back on. And really nothing could be further from the truth. We embody and live a life as that identity label all the time. Everything we do and everything we are and every interaction that we have is touched by the identity labels that we inhabit. So, yes, I'm Ace, and you may think that me being Ace has nothing to do with any other part of my life, but it absolutely does. My Aceness informs the way I move through the world and the way the world treats me and the way I interact with other human beings and other networks of human beings. Aceness is more than just a description of what I do with my body. It is a description of how I am positioned in the world in relation to the power structures of the world. And the same thing is true for people who are not queer. You also, straights out there and cisgenders out there, you are also moving through the world as those things, and the world is treating you a certain way, and it is impacting all the other parts of your life. So, thumbs up and snaps and all the respect to the idea of that video. I still 100% believe it, and I would probably send this video to people because I feel like I did a good job there. I did a good job of speaking a thing there. So that's all the old Ace Dad TikToks I have. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see me react to more old Ace Dad videos, I'd be happy to. This was a lot of fun. It reminds me of how far I've come and how far this project has come, how much I've learned and how much I have learned from you, and how much I have gained from interacting with all of you here as part of Ace Dad Advice. I look back at that old Ace Dad, and I'm very proud of the work that they did, and I'm very proud of the work that I am doing right now as this Ace Dad. So thanks for the support as always. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.